Look, I've been playing this game for yada yada. Let's just get into it. I was told two things coming into this year personally: that this game would be far less pack-oriented than the past couple, and two, that the best cards would constantly move around different areas, different aspects of the game to keep you playing everything. And yet, the best catcher in the game is locked behind a 500,000 stub collection where only rare round pack cards can be used to collect him. The second best catcher, thankfully, only costs 230,000. He's in a chase pack. As is the best shortstop in the game, he's 300,000. It didn't used to be like this. Even when chase packs were first introduced, there was a couple chase packs that would hit the game throughout the calendar year. You know, once every month and a half-ish, a new chase pack featuring a very good and expensive, mind you, card would hit Diamond Dynasty, but it never took over the game the way it is now. Because, flash forward to today, and we are getting brand new chase packs nearly every week featuring top-end cards that consistently land at the very top at what any given content update has to offer. And look, I'll be honest, I might be issuing a hot take here. I actually thought the third inning program bosses were pretty good. I've seen the lot of criticism and pitchforks, but these are good cards for your everyday player of the game. The problem, however, is that they pale in comparison to that big fuchsia pack casting its shadow over the rest of the game. Diamond Dynasty was built and praised by being not like the others, separating itself as the player-friendly Ultimate Team mode, whereas NBA 2K, Madden, and FIFA chose to gouge their fans and pressure them into spending additional money on microtransactions in order to keep up and stay relevant. And before I hear the comments, no, I'm not saying that Diamond Dynasty is still not far more ethical than what those games have to offer, but if you've played Madden, 2K, or FIFA, their Ultimate Team style modes at all recently, is that saying very much? And we shouldn't settle for merely being better than what is a predatory game model that those games offer, when we've seen what MLB The Show has been and what it can be. A huge issue in this year's game has been the online rewards. Take a look at what the game has to offer you if you go 10-0 flawless, which is very difficult. You get this Jonah Heim, who is a solid catcher that you could use. Not many people are. Or worse, this Andre Dawson, a 90 overall, who's not particularly good at anything. And you can see that nobody has used this card. And I know fans have gotten frustrated in the past about good cards being locked behind flawless packs. I think you should have a good reward if you go flawless. Again, maybe that's a hot take here. I think the cards should be good. But what's interesting is with the dismantling of the Battle Royale program, making it more difficult to earn these cards, they've made them worse. Battle Royale is at its most exclusive as it's been in some time, since they put in the program. And yet the cards have only gotten worse. And you could kind of say the same thing about the Ranked Seasons rewards. You had Martin DeHigo, which is a fun card. He can play every position in the game. He can pitch as well. I mean, he's, once again, kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. But he really hasn't caught on so much. And once more, Chipper Jones, a fan favorite, one of the most popular cards year after year in Diamond Dynasty, but this one not so much because they butchered it. What has been so frustrating this year is that these high-end rewards, the World Series, the flawless rewards, are very much so not to be used by the people who are actually getting to this point. There's some clear disconnect between the people building these cards and understanding who they're for. Because a Chipper Jones who has 72 and 70 contact to power against righties, which, Yes, he's a switch hitter. It makes his job a little bit easier, but that's not good. He has 66 clutch. He's not particularly a good defender. He has 60 speed. Besides hitting lefties, what does this card do? And you could continue to say that with the Weekend Classic rewards. Ryan Sandberg, I actually do think this is a pretty solid card. I think the fielding is kind of low for a Ryan Sandberg, which, again, it's a 91 overall card. Somewhat to be expected. We'll talk about that, but it's a good card, but not a great card, which you find in collections and in chase packs. So what's the point to want to be good and get these Weekend Classic rewards just to sell them? Same thing as Battle Royale and ranked seasons. If these cards aren't good enough for the people who get there, what's the point? And very much of that can be said with this Stanton card. Big name. People always love Stanton. And I'm sure he will get some play based off that namesake and the fact that he's not going for truly all that much. But for the people who are at the high difficulties, that vision won't play. 485 vision is not usable, really, on the higher difficulties of the game. And the people building these cards should know that. The people responsible for putting this card in the hands of these people who are getting this high up reward, they should understand that. I mean, they obviously get how to make very good cards. They did it with Carlos Santana, the guy that cost 500,000 stubs, all of rare round pack cards that you were never guaranteed, even 1 out of 13 required. This card is awesome. You know, this Willie Castro's pretty damn good too. He's got maxed out contact and clutch, essentially. A switch hitter with 80 speed, 80 power per side. They obviously know how to do it. They just want you to pay for it. And again, it's frustrating because they are putting out good cards. I think this Corbin Carroll, who is the Lightning reward for the month of April, there's 5 spotlight programs you have to do to get him, which takes some time. But if you do it, I think you get a very good card. However, I don't think there's anybody debating that Corbin Carroll is somehow better than Carlos Santana, the guy you actually have to sink stubs in for. And that's the problem. This is not how Diamond Dynasty used to operate. They would, if anything, be on par. Pack content never took over the game. There was good cards in packs, but it wasn't the pace setter. Right now, when we're in this power creep, 93 overall Willie Castro, that sets the mark. And that is exactly how all those other FIFA, 2K, Madden, whatever else have you, that is all how they work. They offer free cards, but they're not as good as the ones that you've got to actually fork over tons and tons of time of gameplay for virtual currency or actual money for. I really don't want my point to get lost here. I'm not saying they're not putting out good cards for free. This is a case where John Donaldson, who I think is probably the second best pitcher in the game, this card is obtainable for free. You've got to play a decent bit. You have to play through some storylines. You have to go through the Jackie Robinson Day program. There's 2 showdowns to play. There's a conquest map for Hilton Smith. But if you do that, you're able to get John Donaldson, who has been known throughout the community as one of the very best starting pitchers that you could possibly use year in and year out. Ken Griffey Jr., this was a boss card in the second inning program who I absolutely adore. He's been very good for me as we've pushed up to Diamond League and Weekend Classic and ranked seasons. This is a fantastic card. I'm a big fan of him. So again, it's not to say there's no good cards that you can get for free just by playing the game. My point is, it's a lot fewer than what was previous in past MLB The Show games. Think like MLB 21, where back then it was team affinity. It was hitting programs that set the tone for the whole game. Those were some of the best cards, and they were supplemented with the online rewards. So if you wanted the best possible team, Yes, there was the live series collections that was still a part of it, but for the most part, if you were playing the game, and even more if you were good at the game and were getting some of these World Series rewards, you'd probably have a top-end team. And this is all made more frustrating by the fact that I think there's real strides that this year's game made. I personally love the Diamond Quest game mode. Them putting out very fair rewards in a brand new offline game mode is great. I think that's what a lot of us have been asking for quite some time. I have played through an absolute obscene amount of Diamond Quest so far this year, and that is... it's a big reason why I've been able to get collections done, why I've been able to get so far in this game, is that Diamond Quest is just so rewarding. If you put in time, I don't really see a point in flipping on the market anymore. Because if you play, you get rewarded. And that is great. Even in mini seasons, a mode that was overlooked a lot in the past couple of years, they've put out some pretty damn solid cards. You can get a 90 overall Chris Bryant, who I would argue is better than either of the Flawless or World Series rewards. Yes, it takes some time to go through, but you get a very good card for doing so. The CC Sabathia is a very competent starter at the beginning part of the game. And generally, a lot of the programs here have been good. The Dustin May program, he is a starting pitcher that lots of people use. The Johnny Cueto / Scott Rowland program, that's been a fun one. David Ortiz, Jackie Robinson, they're putting out some of these big fan favorite names in programs where all you've got to do is just sink your teeth in a little bit and play. But if you want the best of the best that the game has to offer, it is very expensive collections. Whether that be live series, whether that be the Spotlight series, the Legend and Flashback, or it's the ridiculously overpriced chase packs and supplementing cards that consistently top the game. That's not to mention the litany of other problems we've had. Co-op didn't work for 3 weeks. Well, it did work, just not as they intended. Essentially, you could go in, quit your game, and get gifted the rating point, so you'd have many people cheating the system to hit World Series, to hit 1,000 rating in co-op, and ruining the experience. You really could not genuinely play that mode for about 3 weeks. It has been fixed, which is great, but that's a problem. Custom stadiums, which they spent so long, month plus of this year's game to try and get the Stadium Vault to actually work so you can download stadiums you built. Well, now you can't use them online until however long because they're having issues once again. Game freezes on your lineup screens happen all the time. They happen multiple times to me per day. That gets frustrating. Freeze-offs, where you're playing an online game and then all of a sudden you aren't anymore because the game froze because the network hasn't improved in about a decade. The removal of event rewards, which I still for the life of me do not get why they did that. I was told that people didn't like event rewards. They thought they were not worthwhile. So they scrapped them. Make them better. And I do not dislike the multiplayer program. I think it is very rewarding, truly. If you play through this whole thing, you get a 50-pack bundle, which has one of those big chase packs where you could possibly earn, one of those really cool cards. That's nice. You have some other cards in there, and you do get a chance at those Rewind, Battle Royale, and World Series cards. However, once again, as we said, if they weren't good when they're first coming out, they're definitely not that good when they've been out for a month. And I think we'll kind of leave it with that. This year's game has stuff going for it. I am still enjoying playing this game. I think it is far more interesting with not having sets and seasons. There's a lot more intrigue into getting your team incrementally better. It just hurts when if you want to make your team better, you've really got to pay out for it. You've got to hope you get lucky within a ridiculously expensive pack, or you've got to play a lot and a lot and a lot to eventually save for the stubs to actually get these cards. So what's the solution? Well, we need to make the online rewards better. They are more exclusive than ever before. Again, like I talked about with the removal of the BR and the World Series program, you might say, Gomer, they moved World Series down to 800. They did. Wouldn't it surprise you if I told you 0.5% of people who played a ranked seasons game this past season made World Series? It's still pretty rare. Make you feel a little bit better if you didn't hit it, or if you did hit it, you're a top 0.5% player. We've got to make those cards better. If you're going to take away those programs where people could earn them by doing stat missions, make the cards better. Make them feel like top-end rewards for the people that are going to get there. Absolutely do not nerf the Weekend Classic rewards, which they did heading into Weekend Classic number 2. For example, you notice in Gold 2, previously, if you got one win, you get 40 packs. Now you get 25. Across the board, you have had diminished rewards opposed to the first Weekend Classic, which is probably balancing on their part, but it sure as hell doesn't feel very good when you're getting less for the same amount of work, the same amount of wins, and they're just making the best cards more unobtainable. How are you supposed to catch up? So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I don't like the direction this past couple of weeks, month or so of this game is treaded into. There's definitely some improvements that could be made, and hopefully they do act on that. In the comment section, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Again, I don't want to act like the sky is falling, like this is somehow getting to Madden territory. That's a gross misunderstanding of what exactly Madden Ultimate Team has become at this point. Diamond Dynasty still remains very player-friendly, but not quite like it was once before. I'm a firm believer not everybody needs to get every card, but could we make it a little bit more equitable? A little less obvious that we're yanking people in the direction of maybe deciding to shell out a little bit for packs, buy a couple stubs here and there, or just really require them to be sitting in front of their system for hours and hours and hours and hours if they truly want to feel like they're getting rewarded. Probably a longer video, but just wanted to talk. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it.